Hey guys, if you haven't already, give the video a like, subscribe to my channel. This is a what if series and I'll be doing more down the road. Plus Ultra. Hey guys, and welcome to What If Deku Was Beerus the Destroyer's Reincarnation. So last time I touched upon this series, they were in the tournament arc and Deku basically dodged Tenya Ida's most fastest attack, Reciprocal Burst. I don't know how to pronounce that right, but you know what I mean. He dodged it and Tenya Ida was surprised, like shocked that his most strongest speed was dodged that easily. And Deku basically told him to keep his head up. He told him that this would happen, and it's not the fact that Tenya Ida was just not fast enough, he's just not trained enough, or he's not just going to catch up to Deku like that. I mean, Deku's basically, like I told you, he's a god of destruction, so Deku's power is unfathomable. And right now, I have to say that Deku being in this tournament is a fucking broken thing, because Deku, what can they do against him? Like, what can people do against him? Now, anyway, let's just get back into the story. Sorry. So, Deku, the battle trial, or everything would be like cavalry battle, that will all be done. So now we get into the preliminaries. And I'm going to skip past a lot of fights, some of them, and get to the very good ones. Bakugo would straight up tank Ochaku. I mean, she wouldn't be able to do anything against him. He's too fast for her, his skills. It's just like he's on a whole different level. And mixing his ki, see, Bakugo has God ki, but it has not like, well, he has God ki, and he's most like saving, but he's like utilizing his ki with like his quirk, making it more stronger. So Bakugo is not going all out. Actually, he's holding back against Ochaku. And she tells him not to. Why are you holding back against me, Bakugo? Fight me with your full power. And Bakugo just opens his eyes wide. Why would I do that? If I fight you with my full power, I might end up hurting you badly. And Ochaku says, what do you mean by that? And this is where Deku is, well, talking with Whis as they're sitting in the stands. And Deku is saying, Whis, you told him about using his full power, right? And Whis goes on to comply like, yes, my lord, I did tell him that. If he ends up using his power, he could seriously hurt that poor Ochaku. She doesn't have the skills, and I really doubt that her gravity quirk would do anything against him. Now, Bakugo just tells Ochaku that he's only going to use 10%, and 10% is well enough to handle her. She gets angry a little bit, saying that you think I'm weak, and Bakugo says, no, I'm just way more trained than you are. And he punches Ochaku dead in the stomach with so much force that it sends like her eyes roll to the back of her head. Now Ochaku falls to her knees, and she's barely she's losing consciousness due to from that attack. Bakugo didn't even use his quirk or anything. He just used his natural skill with his ki enhancing his his speed and everything. See, Bakugo didn't want to hurt her. He has more of a heart. He's not much of an asshole since Whis has been training him, and Deku has opened his eyes a little bit, saying that you need to do something with your anger. Your anger is gonna be in the way of your growth. If you can find a way to channel and put the flame out on your anger, then you can become stronger. And that's what Bakugo did. So Bakugo still is gonna have his he's gonna still be Bakugo at some points, but he's gonna know when to be calm and when to not act like an asshole, but he's just picture someone related to something like this. He's chill, but he's not chill, if that makes sense. Anyway, so as everything's playing out with that Bakugo ends up winning that. And all the battles pretty much go the same way up until we get to the battle of Deku versus Todoroki. Now, before that battle even happens, this is where Endeavor comes to Deku and tells him that, hey, I need a favor from you. I see my son won't use his quirk. And this is where Deku stops Endeavor right there. I already know. Your son has two quirks, half hot, half fire. But he refuses to use your quirk. Well, the fire side, because he has a strong resentment towards you. And I mean, why would I blame him? See, during the 10 months I've been training, I've been learning a few techniques and stuff like that, but I also been catching up on history. And I've also been learning about you heroes. And to be honest, Endeavor, you're the one hero that disgusts me. You forced a woman into marriage and forced her to have multiple kids to please your strong, like your sensation for strength. You wanted power. You want to create an offspring that was the exact replica of half ice, half hot. You want to try to genetically mutate quirks into creating something like Todoroki. And you did just that. But at what cost? Endeavor's eyes widen at this. How do you know so much about this, boy? It's not that hard. You see, my attendant here is very, very good with giving me information about the universe. You see, I'm the god of destruction of this universe. Means I'm stronger than each and every one of you on this planet. And Endeavor laughs at this and saying, you're just a child. How can you be stronger than us? So you're saying that you're actually stronger than All Might. And Deku says, you'll see when I go out there and fight your son. It's hard to explain. I'm more of an action type of person than more than just explaining stuff, because that can get boring and very irritating. Anyway, you still didn't answer my question. At what cost did you gain anything from that? First off, your wife ended up into a mental institution. You've abandoned most of your kids, basically neglected them. And you kept their brother from them their entire life. I bet each and every one of your kids don't even know his birthday. They don't even know his favorite food, his favorite activity. They don't even know how he thinks. Been in the house with this guy for all their lives, and yet they know nothing about him. You looked at all your kids like they were fodder, like they were trash. And then Izuku turned and walked away. Endeavor, you ever wonder why you never managed to surpass All Might? It's because of your attitude. You're no number one hero, and you will never beat the number one hero. Even if you manage to beat him in a sparring match, it's one thing that you will never gain, is that he had trust. He was kind-hearted. He had love for the people that he wanted to protect. The symbol of peace was meant way much more, and it's a huge responsibility, something that you, yourself, would never understand. Now, Deku walks away from Endeavor, leaving Endeavor to think about his thoughts and everything, but he was a little angry, but everything that Izuku said was true. Everything he said was true. And he started to think about this, to basically understand what he actually was doing. He was after power. So when Deku walks out and gets ready for the tournament, well, before that, we do a little flashback to Deku and Todoroki talking. Now, Todoroki asks Deku, are you related to All Might or something? You're insanely strong. And this is where Deku just tells him the truth. I'm this universe god of destruction. And this is where Todoroki would have a vein in his forehead saying, God of destruction. So you're thinking of yourself as a god? And Deku saying, I'm not thinking of myself as a god. I am a god. This is where Todoroki would feel offended by this. Well, not offended, but he'll feel like he's threatened by this. So Todoroki declares that he's going to win against Deku. And he's going to show him and everybody in the stadium that he's going to be the number one hero. Deku says, give it your best shot. I would love to see you go all out. And hence the name, I want to see you go all out. Now, fast forward, time to get back to the present. Now, Deku's walking towards the stadium and he sees Todoroki, and the both of them are looking at each other. But Deku is just having a smile on his face. And this is where Deku enters the stadium, tapping his feet. Now, I haven't mentioned before, but if I did, correct me in the comments. But Deku's most likely attire for this, I mean, he's still in his sportswear and everything, but his hero costume is going to be similar to that of Beerus. I probably stated that. If I didn't, I'm sorry, but his hero costume is gonna look similar like Beerus. The shoes, the gold cufflinks, nothing around the neck, no neck choker like Beerus has, but just the ear, the piece ear like he gave Vegeta that signifies he has the energy of destruction, and so on and so forth. Like he has all the Beerus attire, even the thing like that. Anyway, so as we continue on, Deku and Todoroki are looking at each other. And the proctor announces, let the battle begin. So Todoroki shoots a huge ice glacier at Deku, which Deku easily dodges and rushes right behind Todoroki, punching him dead in the back through the ice glacier that he created. Now Deku yawns at this and saying, that was a neat trick. How about this? Now, Deku gathers some energy in his hand and shoots it at Todoroki, which Todoroki uses an ice shield to block it, and he opens his eyes wide. But he sees Deku right behind him again and has his hand on his back and lets off a miniature explosion on his back. Similar to how Beerus did against Goku in Battle of Gods, and you know what I mean. So, as that's continuing on, Deku is just toying with Todoroki, sending him flying all throughout the ring. And Todoroki at this point is battle damaged. Battle damaged because he has not laid a finger on Deku. And Deku is not even, he's barely trying. And Todoroki is breathing heavily. Now Deku basically sits down while he sits down in crisscross position. And he looks at Todoroki, scratching his head. Come on, dude. Are you really going to sit there and not use your full power? And Todoroki will be like, what do you mean? I am using my full power. No, you're not. You have two quirks. Half hot, half cold. If you're going to fight me half-ass, I'm going to knock you dead out this tournament in 5 seconds. Well, I'll be generous and give you a minute. You have a minute to use your full power. If you don't, I'm going to kick you out of this tournament. And this is where Todoroki gets mad and angry and said, did that bastard put you up to this? And Deku says, me and Endeavor did have a talk, but I didn't discuss with him about your quirk. I just discussed with him how huge of an asshole he is. But in your case, you're just holding back. Everyone in this tournament is using their full power. They're using everything they have to strive for the top, to become the strongest. Each and every one of these students have a goal. And here you are half-assing it. You have no sense of respect towards your fellow students. You want to half-ass this tournament? Well, I'm going to give you 1 minute to use your full power. If you don't, then I'm going to knock you out of the tournament. And I will see where you and your career will go. You probably will be a sidekick, Todoroki. Do you want that? I know all too well about your childhood and what you had to go through. But it's your quirk, not his. It's your power, nothing to do with Endeavor's. You have a choice to where you want your power to go and what path you want to take. You do not have to follow in your father's footsteps. If using his quirk, it has a huge burden on you, well, erase that burden and create your own path different from his. Now, Todoroki smiles at Deku and erupts in flames. And this is where Deku basically yawns and stands back up and smiles. And this purplish aura starts to glow around Deku as he clenches his fist and his energy just spikes and shoots up into the air. Now this is where Deku makes the declaration that I will become the new symbol of peace. Now, I'm not going to give Bakugo one for all. I'm going to give that to Mirio. You see, Bakugo already is getting trained by Whis and already has the strength and everything. Plus, he's got God Ki. So, yeah, I'm going to give that to Mirio. Plus, Mirio would have used it very much better than I think Bakugo would. And I just think the power would suit Mirio better. Because if you give it to Bakugo, it's just going to be a huge amp. And then two OP people. And then, yeah. Anyway, so he's still OP. But you get it. Anyway, the power would just be wasted on Bakugo. I'm just giving it to Mirio. Anyway. Just thought I should mention that. Now, Deku and Todoroki would charge at each other, throwing multiple blows as Todoroki would use his fire and ice and start launching everything in his arsenal at Deku. Now, Deku would be dodging most of this, and he would only be using 20%. Now, this is what Todoroki pushed Deku towards, and slightly just advancing it down so that like it could be entertaining for this universe, even as OP as this may sound. So Deku ends up punching Todoroki dead in the stomach as this huge burst of wind exited his back, and then he kicks Todoroki dead into the wall. Now Deku says, "That was an interesting battle, Todoroki, but you lost. But I'm excited that you stood your ground and you have some backbone in using your own power." Now, this is where the last battle of the tournament would begin, and Deku and Bakugo would be eyeing each other. Now, Deku would be tapping his feet and looking at Bakugo saying, "I'm very interested to see where your training has got you this far. I want to see the fruits of what Whis has taught you." Now Deku basically gets into a stance, and the vein starts growing on his arms as his muscle starts to increase, as Deku's eyes glow purple, as this aura starts to radiate over his body and shoots around the area of the stage. Now Bakugo is basically standing his ground, looking at Deku with a smile, as he does the same in return, flexing his aura too. All you see is this you see this purplish pink and this fiery red, orange type aura radiating over the arena. Now, Deku and Bakugo charges at each other, and the tournament just goes up in smoke as both of these they're not huge titans, but both of these strong characters are hitting each other with fearsome blows. Now, the crowd is yelling in excitement due to the amount of pressure that these two are emitting. The wind pressure that's coming from these two as their fist clash. Damn, I don't know why I said clash. So as the both of them are going at it, Deku decides to go up and to charge up his power up to 50%. And Bakugo is roughly around using at least 75% of his power. Now Deku and Bakugo are going at it. I'm talking about going at it. Now imagine that Goku and Beerus battle of God. Yeah, this is getting out of hand. Now Cementos and the rest of the heroes are thinking about calling this battle a quits because the amount of pressure that these two are emitting at each other. And when Deku and Bakugo come in for a huge punch, like Deku has a purplish aura radiating over his fist, and Bakugo has an orangish aura radiating over his fist, an open palm too. So as Bakugo is getting ready to shoot a huge explosion at Deku, and Deku is getting ready to shoot a huge blast at Bakugo, a huge punch at Bakugo, Whis comes in and stops both of their attacks. And this is where Whis looks at him and says, "This match will be a draw. If the two of them would have continued, this whole tournament would have been destroyed. You two need to learn to hold back. And you, Lord Deku, need to learn to channel your power deeply. Well, not channel it, but learn to suppress your power than getting excited and losing your sense of self. Because you could easily destroy this planet if you got too carried away." Now, Deku laughs at this and sits down and saying, "Oh yeah, well, I was just kind of caught up in the moment." Now, this right here would be a draw between Bakugo and Deku, and everything would play per normal with that. People would announce that Deku and Bakugo came in first place since it was a draw. Todoroki came in second, and everything played out normal with that. Now, one thing I do have to mention is that last time we were at the USJ, I said something about there's this angelic being that basically came and saved Shigaraki's life. Now, I want you guys to tell me in the comments. Well, I know you guys said Minoru, but I really don't. I got to study up on that character. I don't really know. I was going to basically use make up a version of an angelic being that was in the old universe. Say, for example, that universe that Zen erased, or like universe 14 or something like that. And I was just going to make up an angel that was out for revenge and decided to join Shigaraki's team so that Whis would have to train Deku and Bakugo to stop this particular character from destroying the My Hero Academia universe. And this angelic being decided to work with Shigaraki in hopes to create a utopia, not like a utopia like Zamasu, the Zero Immortals plan. No, something like a utopia where only the strongest survives. Only the strong will rule over the world. Sort of like 9. Put it that way. But anyway, I want you guys to basically tell me who you want this angelic being to be. And I need to start doing some studying up on this character so I can see how powerful they can be. Or should I just make up like an angelic character from like Universe 14 and have my own take on it? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And I hope you guys like this part to What If Deku Was Beerus the Destroyer's Reincarnation Part 4. Anyway, without any further ado, you guys have a good day, a good night, and Plus Ultra. Good night, guys.